Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nikco Riesgo. Nikco, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And Mike Augello, how are you?
Hi.
So let's talk a little baseball. The season has started. Uh, of course, before the season starts, Justin Verlander goes down with an injury for the New York Mets. Uh, they say it's going to be week to week after everybody has researched this muscle that's under the armpit. There's no way he's back in a week. He's probably back in 3 or 4 is more likely. So I'm sure at some point Met fans will get that report. Um, Max Scherzer's going good. You know, the Mets got beat 10-0 today, but they still look pretty good, Nikco. And I think it'll be a good year for them, but it is tough when you have older starting pitching at the top of the rotation. And then even Carrasco's no spring chicken.
It is tough, and it's going to be a long year, Russ. I just got back from spring training in St. Lucie. I took a really long look at the Mets, and about the only good thing I saw at the camp was the Japanese young pitcher,
Oh,
Kodai
Senga, yeah.
Singa. Yeah, what a phenom that they've
Yep.
got there. I think he is a bright spot. That they could definitely rally behind. They're going to get at least one win a week. Scherzer, if they can get another one out of him, he's proven again he's at the upper age, and his fastball is just not moving the same. He is not the dominant Scherzer that we all know. It's going to be a tough, challenging year. It really is. I do not see even the playoffs for the Mets this year.
Oh, come on. They're going to make the
Jesus.
playoffs. I mean, look, Scherzer is learning how to pitch. He's going to use the pitch clock to his advantage. You know, Carrasco maybe doesn't win 15 this year. Maybe he wins 10. Peterson's a good pitcher. They've got a lot of pitching depth, and they've got money. I was just on a show with Ed Lynch where, you know, he did talk about Stephen Cohen's purchasing power and that he'll be able to get some players of teams that are looking to save on salary at some point, you know, around the deadline. So I'm not as grim about the Mets as you are, as far as that goes. It ain't gonna be perfect, but they're not gonna be non-playoff.
Well,
Mike, what do you think?
no, nobody dislikes the Mets more than I do, and I'm
Mhm,
not as sanguine about them as Nico is. The Verlander injury is a setback. I don't
mhm,
think he'll be back in a week. He'll probably be back in early May. They
mhm.
should be careful with him because they need him down the stretch, and they need him in October. You put a rotation with Scherzer and him and Senga as 6 of your 7 starts in a 7-game series, and you're in a pretty good position. Now, like from my mind, I think they need to upgrade their offense a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, Alonso is great, but I think they need table setters other than Nimmo in front of him. Maybe Beatty gets called up later in the year.
In
If he has a
June,
good
I
year,
think in June he'll get called up.
yeah, if he has a good year in AAA. But I think where Stephen Cohen is going to have to use his money is probably to add in the bullpen because David Robertson, although being a crafty relief pitcher, was not added to be the closer, but because of that abortion known as the World Baseball Classic, they lose Diaz.
Mhm.
And I think he's probably going to have to spend his money and something in terms of prospects at the deadline to get himself a closer. But I think they're going to either win the NL East or come in second and be a wild card.
Yeah, I think second. I think still the Braves are the team to beat and have no reason to think otherwise. Now, I was asked a question on, I wasn't asked, but it was asked, and I answered it on Twitter. Nico, I was asked, has there ever been an 0-4 team to win the World Series? And I wrote, I don't believe there has been. And that's what the Phillies are sort of up against right now, this moment as they're losing to the Yankees. Uh, it's tough, man. They kind of went all in for that World Series last year, knowing about Harper's health and everything else, and they had to know it was going to be a little bit of a struggle for a couple of months of the early part of this season.
I thought they expected to get Harper back to be healthy to start the season.
Oh, All-Star break, or maybe a little before.
Yeah, so they're going to be struggling until they get him back. They really don't have a replacement to replace him. How do you replace
No.
him? But Aaron Nola, I mean, he started off gangbusters. I mean,
last year, not this year.
no, yeah, to start the year, to start the season, I guess the
He got
opening day.
killed. No, he got killed.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm talking the first inning. The first couple innings,
Yeah.
he looked
Okay.
great.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So he looked good. He just kind of fell apart. Zach Wheeler kind of fell apart. Those are their two horses. If they don't have Zach Wheeler, they don't have Nola. They got a long season themselves.
Well, somebody has to win that division, Nico, and then there have to be playoff teams. So not everybody can be bad, but I get your point. So who would you were down in spring training? Who were some of the NL teams that you liked?
The Astros. Well, the Astros
No,
are in
no,
the
NL
American League, but
teams.
we're talking
NL
about
teams.
the National Leagues. Obviously the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You always the Dodgers are always going to be up there.
Hmm.
What surprise National League team? I'd really like the Cubs. I think the Cubs have made some strong moves.
Okay.
It was interesting to see what the Brewers did today to the Mets
They
because
always
the
beat the
Brewers
Mets
are
for some
interesting.
reason. Yeah.
They're interesting with their pitching staff, and then now they've got the hitters. The big pickup was Brian Anderson. That was a shock to me that the
Hmm.
Marlins let him go. He is a franchise player, and now he's with the great franchise Milwaukee Brewers. He could turn that franchise around with their defense. They've got great defense, and they got good pitching. If they can just get a little offense, I like the Brewers. The Cardinals, I like the Cardinals in the National League. The Giants are surprising. They beat the Yankees. They won again today. They're going to surprise some people. The Giants, the Padres are going to
Yeah,
surprise
Franco
some people.
Conforto can
Well,
get some home runs. He got one today. That's a big deal, Mike.
Conforto
well,
is a big
the,
deal.
Gi- the, the Giants have too many Mets to win. But just kidding. I mean, if I look at the National League, I mean, obviously the Dodgers are going to be up there because,
Yeah.
I mean, they need a young pitcher like Dustin May, who had a Tommy John surgery and only came back at the end of the year last year to be a part of the rotation. But if it's him and Gonsolin and Urias and Kershaw, I mean, they arguably have the best rotation in the National League. Now, I think San Diego is going to contend, and obviously with all the firepower that they have, I think that sort of a dark horse could be the Cardinals. And I'm a little questioning on their pitching. Wainwright got hurt in the World Baseball
Yeah, that
Classic,
might have
but
hurt him. Yeah.
that might have hurt them. But if they, they have a couple young pitchers and they have a really young phenom outfielder in Jordan Walker, if everything goes right for them, I think they're at least going to be a wild card team because they have a good enough offense surrounding Arenado and Goldschmidt that they can be a contender.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys as we talk about the American League, I'm going to be straight up front here and tell you that I think the winner of the American League and the winner of the World Series this year could be the Seattle Mariners. I'm super high on the Seattle Mariners. Obviously, they have Rodriguez. Obviously, I think Kelnick will come around, but they have a lot of good players. They have a good bullpen. Sewald, former Met, a good closer. There's a lot of things to like about Seattle. So I'd like to see if you guys are going to talk me out of that. But Nico, what do you think about some of the American League teams?
I'd love to talk you out of the Seattle Mariners because they've got to beat the Guardians before they can even think about beating the Yankees or beating the Rays or even beating the Astros. The Mariners are probably the fifth or sixth best team in the American League right now. They've got a little bit more work to do in their pitching, starting pitching. Luis
Mhm.
Castillo obviously is the horse that they needed to carry them through the year, but they definitely lead. We'll see how Kirby does today. They got some young arms, Logan Gilbert, but they're not proven yet. I mean, Kirby, Logan Gilbert, they're just not proven to win that American League. Not yet.
Well, I think that Seattle can beat Houston in the AL West because Houston, I think, definitely has taken a step back with, losing Verlander. Hunter Brown is a young pitching prospect who, he's on the IL right now with a back problem. He could, I'm not saying he's going to replace all the wins that Verlander has, but he's a young, powerful arm and he's got an ability, and along with Valdez and the other starters that they have, that might be able to solidify the rotation. I don't think their bullpen is particularly good. And Jose Abreu replacing Gurriel at first base was a good move, but I think the Astros are ready to take a step back. I think a lot of people and losing Altuve again because of the
Yeah, for
World
a couple
Baseball
months.
Classic for a
Yeah.
couple months that's going to hurt them. Honestly, and I'm biased because I covered the Yankees and I've been a Yankees fan most of my life. I think it's the Yankees. It's their league to lose. I mean, now they've
Not
had
from a
all their
pitching standpoint, though. Their
well,
starting pitching worries me.
Well, I mean, right. And the thing is that okay, if they've gotten all their injuries out of the way, then they're in good shape because, Severino's out, Cortez had the hamstring that kept him out of the World Baseball Classic, Rodon, they're being extra careful to the point that Severino and Rodon are almost aggravated that they shut them down because the Yankees want to make sure that they're healthy. And they're pitching guys like Clark Schmidt and Johnny Brito, who they sent down to AAA
Yeah.
after he
I'm
shut
not
out
even
some
sold on
some-
Cortez. He may have been a one-year wonder. He's kind of gimmicky. I don't know.
He's gimmicky and he's a junk baller, but it works because when like for some reason these guys who throw 85 miles an hour and throw from all different arm angles, all these guys who are ready to hit 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, they can't hit those guys. And I mean, will he repeat what he did last year, which was a sub-3 ERA, and I think he had 11 or 12 wins?
Yeah, no way.
Probably not. No way, but they have other arms in their rotation, and I think with Cole and Rodon and Severino as your top three, they're really set up well. Their bullpen is, even though they didn't do good against San Francisco, their bullpen is pretty decent.
No, the bullpen's decent.
Yeah. So and their lineup again, it's health. It's I mean, knock on wood, but Aaron Judge, the 2 years that he set the world on fire, he stayed healthy, remarkably healthy those last 2 years. Before then, he always missed 40 or 50 games. I don't know if this team can afford to lose Judge for a quarter to a third of the season. If they don't, then I think they're going to run away with the AL East. I think the only team in the AL East that will give them a run for their money might be Baltimore because
No, it'll be Toronto. Will you stop with your Toronto hate?
Toronto has got no good other than Alek Manoah. Their rotation is pedestrian. And
Did
they're both
everybody forget about the Tampa Bay Rays?
No, we'll
No,
talk
I didn't
about
forget.
them.
We'll talk about them. They've got Shane McClanahan as the ace of their staff, and he's really good. And then they got a bunch of openers. It's like, I mean,
They're leading the American League East right now, and I don't think they're going to give it up for the rest of the year.
It's 4 games. Who gives a crap what the
No,
what the
it matters. It matters. You can hold it from day one until the end of the year.
You know who did that? The Tigers in '84. Nobody does that, Nico. Come on. The Mets didn't do it last year.
Yeah, they went 31-5 or something like that, and then they coasted. But no, I mean, I'm sorry. After 4 games, I don't care if the Pittsburgh Pirates are 4-0, they're going to go 458. Come on.
But I do agree with Nico. Cleveland, the Guardians are good, and I do think that at some point BB will come up, and that gives them another arm. Their pitching's pretty good. Jimenez, I told everybody when they made that trade for Lindor that he is a tremendous player, and people are like, oh, come on, the Indians never get anybody in the trade, but they did, and they signed him long term, and they've got a Gold Glover on their hands. So
I love their rotation, and Bieber is really good. Kwan is an excellent outfielder and good on base guy. They added Josh Bell in the offseason, so that there's a bat in the middle of their order. But I still think they're offensively challenged. Every game is going to have to be 3-2 or 2-1 with them.
Yeah.
And they need to add offense, and that's an organization. They spent money on Jimenez, but they don't like spending money. They've been, and that was why they traded Lindor. And until they're ready to spend a little money to add some offense, I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean they could surprise. There is breaking news. Anthony Rendon did get suspended for 5 games for that altercation with a fan. I saw that video. Like, yeah, he needed to back off. The fan's wrong. The fan's almost always wrong, but the player has to be big enough to walk away from it and not look like he's going to actually get into a fight with someone in the fans. Once you and Nico could speak to this. Once the player gets into a fight with the fan has won.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. And they get into your head, and you look at guys like Darryl Strawberry, those kind of players, when they head into your ballpark, you hear the whole stadium outfield just Darryl. sterile, and it gets into your head. It's mesmerizing. You definitely don't want that as a player.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the breaking news, Russ, was that Anthony Rendon was on the disabled list again, because that's what it's been like the last 3 years or whatever it's been since he won the World Series with Washington. He's just been injured constantly. So, this is counterproductive. It's like, the Angels have two of the best players in baseball in Ohtani and Trout, and they can't get within a mile of the playoffs, and I don't see anything changing this year, especially if Rendon is going to do this kind of crap.
So next year, where is Otani going? I think he's going to Seattle. I know he'll interview with the Mets to drive up the price. I'm sure he'll try and interview with the Padres and Dodgers, but the
I
Padres, I
think
don't think want to spend the money. But I'm going Seattle.
I'm going Dodgers.
That's a good call, Russ. I do like Seattle. I like the Dodgers to get them too. That's going to be a big fight. The
Yeah.
fact that Ichiro Suzuki has that strong relationship with
Yep.
Seattle, they've got the Japanese translators there. The airport flights to Japan is already
Yep.
set up in motion for Seattle. That's a great fit. That's a good call for him. I don't think they're still going to beat the Astros, even if the Mariners get Otani.
Oh,
I
I
do
think
want to
there'll
take some
be a
time
day
on
the
the show
Astros fall
to
and you
talk
go, come
about
on.
the Astros. I want to
I think
talk
they're
about.
I think they're beating the Astros this year. So I mean,
Let me just say a few words about the
go ahead.
Astros this year and what they've done and their quest to defend their World Series championship. Never have I ever seen a World Series champion have to replace their general manager, but they were in a position where they lost their general manager. He got offered a better position, and they had to hire somebody on the spot. And typically, it's not a good opportunity to come in to an organization that's already won a World Series. I mean, you've only got down to go. And one of my former teammates, Dana Brown, with the Philadelphia Phillies, he's been a minor league scout and worked his way up through the scouting departments, and he's the head of scouting with the Atlanta Braves the last couple of years. And after 31 years, he's finally got his opportunity to interview with the Astros. He got the job, and as a former teammate, I can say they got the right guy. This man is a hard worker. He's a good man in the locker room. He's fun to be with as a teammate. And all I can see is the Astros getting greedy with wins, defending their championship, not only this year, but I'm saying every year until the day I die. I cannot see another team winning the World Series against the Astros in my lifetime.
Oh, will you stop it? Just stop.
God.
This is
I mean,
I'm dead serious because I'm 100% behind Dana Brown, behind the Astros organization, everything that they bring to the game. I'm with them full force. I cannot see anybody beating that.
everything that they bring to the game, like trash can bashing and cheating. I mean, please. I mean, I'm not
Yes,
nothing
they
against
were
your
the
friend.
best at cheating. Yes, they were
Yeah,
the best at cheating. They brought that to the game because cheating's been in the game
not,
forever. I mean, it's always been in the game, and they were the best at cheating, and then they're going to be the best at winning.
Well, no, okay. I mean,
so you're trying to tell us that the new Oakland A's from back in the 70s. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, no, I don't buy it either. I mean, first of all, it's like, I mean, you can't deny the quality of the core group that got to numerous World Series, but with each year, those core players are getting older and
Yeah.
players are leaving. They've lost Verlander this year. They lost Springer. They lost Correa. I mean, you still have Altuve and you still have Bregman, but they're not as good a team as they were 2 years ago. And there is no team that will enjoy seeing them lose more than the Houston Astros. So, I mean, they're going to be a contender this year, but I think with each year, because they're not really bringing, other than Alvarez, they're not really bringing up a ton of young talent that's replacing the great players that they're losing. So I just think that they're a team on the decline, and I let's just say I'm getting my marshmallows ready to roast in the fire of the Houston Astros.
Yeah, they've won
It's
two
going to be
World
a long
Series.
year for you, Mike. A long year.
They won two World Series. They're not going to win another one this year. Um, yeah, they're not going to be in it every year. They're not. Even the Dodgers
As
won't
far as
be in it
I'm
every year.
concerned, I'm gonna use all of the powers within me to just transfer it over to them. I'm gonna be flying in to Houston on April 18th through the 19th. I'm gonna be there to celebrate the World Series replica rings there, and I'm gonna be grabbing one of those myself, and I plan on grabbing one every year for the rest of my life with them.
Are they
Well,
free trash cans?
you do that, and we'll see if that's actually going to happen. The um, the Minnesota Twins are off to a hot start. They actually may go 4-0, and I still don't believe in them. Does anybody here believe in the Twins?
No, I don't. I
Absolutely,
I think I
absolutely.
I think they made an absolutely horrendous trade in the offseason, trading Luis Ariz to Miami for, I think it was Jorge Lopez.
And the
I,
Correa deal may not be smart over a long term.
yeah, I mean, first of all, I think Ariz is one of the best. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. He obviously won the AL batting
He
title
got like
last year.
8 hits in the series against the Mets. No joke.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great left-handed hitter. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say he's like Rod Carew, because I heard somebody comparing him to Rod Carew. I'm like, let's cool
No,
your
they
jets.
tried to say that in the Met game too. Yeah, don't say Rod Carew. Not yet.
But
Not yet,
he's
not yet. Now, if he wins a National League batting title, you can say he's won an American League title and he's won a National League title. You can have a conversation
Yeah, I
now.
think Carew won like 4 titles, something like that. So he's got a ways to go.
Yeah. But he is a great player. But and the Twins
issue.
are for real, because when you look at Lopez, he's a number one, number two starter. You look at Joe Ryan, he's a
Hmm.
number one, number two starter. They've got Sonny Gray, he's a one or two starter.
Oh, he's not
They've
a one or a
got
two,
Except,
Sonny Gray.
horses.
Will
They
you
just got
stop?
Tyler Mike
except in New
Bailey
York.
from the Reds. So they've got 4 or 5 horses there, and they've got some good hitters. When you look at Byron Buxton in the outfield, he's one of the greatest outfielders that they've got there.
No, he's
They've got
good.
He's a great he's a great defensive
they
center
got
fielder, but
he's
he's had issues
and they've
staying
got the
healthy
German
last
Kepler.
year.
I will say this:
The
they're
Twins are going to
decent.
be right in the playoffs, right?
I don't know. I'm not as high on you as on them as you. Um, Maybe that'll be the case. We'll see. I just don't think they're going
I
to
think
do it, but they're off to a hot start. We'll
I think they finished third behind either or the White Sox and the Guardians. I don't think that their rotation is decent. I think that the loss of Arise to their lineup is devastating. I think the fact that Minnesota, they saw that Arise was going to be a free agent after next season, and they decided to cash in that coupon at that point. Fine, but I think you needed that guy at the top of your order, and now they don't have him, and I question their offense, the consistency of their offense.
yeah, I do kind of question it too. All right, Nico. So give me an argument how the Diamondbacks are going to be good this year, because I'm just waiting for something off the wall from you.
Uh, Zach Galen, they've got one of the greatest pitchers leading them off there. Zach Galen. They got Merrill Kelly, another great young pitcher. They've got a couple of young ball players that they've called up there. Carroll
Carroll's
is one of them, a
Carroll's good.
left-handed hitter. You're going to see him in the lineup every day. Marte obviously is there. They've
Yeah,
got the cat
Baumgartner's
Kyle
100.
Lewis that they got
Baumgartner's
from
a
your
hundred though.
Mariners is a big bat that they just added. And
Yeah,
they just beat the Dodgers 2 out of 4 in LA. So they're
yeah,
going to be hard to beat.
yeah. Baumgartner's got a dead arm though. That's an issue. They did beat the Dodgers early on, but it's early on. I knew you had seen a lot of them in the spring, so I knew you'd be able to talk about them. But this is the early part of the season. We can't get crazy about this.
No,
I, I don't put too much stock into it, and you have to get a good month of the season in before you have an idea of at least the basics of a team with injuries and those other things.
I don't think you can evaluate any team based on how they do in April. There's cold
Except our
weather.
fantasy team that's in last place. That's
Well,
a different
yeah, well,
story.
of course, that once we dig a hole so deep
We
that
stay in it.
we stay in it all the way. But in Major League Baseball, it's like I like I said, if the Pirates go 16-10 in April, I'm going to believe they'll go 16 and 146 because
Right.
I don't think they're a very good team. But it's like you can have a hot start, and I mean, there are certain things like I don't care what the Boston Red Sox do in April. They
No.
suck. They're not a good team. They have one really good hitter in their lineup in Devers. Maybe Verdugo
Well,
is
no,
a
your
second.
sheet is good.
Yeah, well,
He's going to be really good.
well, he may be.
He hit a homer today. He's gotten 4 or 5 hits already.
I'm
He
waiting.
Yeah, no, he is a great
can-
left-handed bat. I mean, he's a
He is.
surprising power hitter for as small as he is. What a
Yeah.
great whip
I'm,
and
I'm
bat
waiting
speed he carries.
I'm waiting to evaluate him. Because he's an unknown. They have a really good young prospect in Casas, the first baseman. But to me, like their pitching staff is horrific. Chris Sale, you talk about dead arms like Baumgartner. Chris Sale's arm was Quincy basically
Apparently,
performed.
he was arguing with the umpires the other day too.
Oh God.
Chris Sale gets a little heated. But I will say this though, it's not the year for the Red Sox, but it could be in a year or two though, because as an example, and I'm forgetting the player's name, but he's on one of my fantasy teams here. Another young player, I think is it Gabriel Rodriguez? It's something like that. Shortstop. He's another guy that in another year will be up, and he's a potential star.
Well,
So
the issue with the Red Sox right now is Chaim Bloom is trying to make
Gilberto Jimenez. He's a hell of an outfield prospect. I was thinking of a different team.
the problem with the Red Sox right now is that Chaim Bloom is trying to make them into the Tampa Bay Rays North. They didn't sign Bogarts. They didn't
Right.
they traded Mookie Betts. The only one that they've signed is Devers. They're trying to get underneath the salary cap, and their fan base is used to spending with the evil empire, and they're not doing it anymore. So I don't know whether there's
They
enough
can
patience.
again. It's John Henry's got money. He's just they're not using it
Right,
right
but they don't seem to want to spend it anymore. That's the whole thing. I think they got burned by the Sale deal. They got burned by a couple other deals, and now they're not willing to spend anymore. I mean, now it's like, it's the Yankees, it's the Mets, it's the Dodgers, it's the Padres, and a couple other teams, and the Red Sox don't seem to be one of those.
What would you rather do, Mike? Would you rather pay JD Martinez $15 million, or would you rather get the same production from a Turner for $4 million?
Well, I don't think you're going to get the same production out of Turner for $4 million. I mean, maybe you will, but I mean, no, I wouldn't spend the money on JD Martinez, but I'd spend something is that kind of money on a adequate replacement for him. And they didn't replace him. They didn't replace him.
I think the Red Sox are going to get a heck of a lot out of Turner this year. Believe me.
Well, we'll see.
If not a World Series appearance.
My God, come on. World
And like I
Series.
said, like I said, Jimenez, I think he'll be up next year. He's their top prospect. He looked good in spring. He's 22. He's an outfielder. They've got some more things coming. The one thing, Mike, is they could get back into it because they do have money. They just haven't
They do
spent
have
it
money,
right
but what I'm questioning is their willingness to spend it. If they spend it, then yeah, I agree. But like the last 2 to 3 years, I mean, I'm not the only one. It's their fan base that are pissed off at their ownership and management for not spending money and keeping the guys who were in their prime, like Betts, they traded because of money, and Bogarts. They traded. He opted out. They
now.
let him go because of money. And the Red Sox normally haven't done that, and they're doing that now.
Well, I think it'll stop soon. That's just my guess. But that's it. That's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
Ah, man.
Bye.